All right. Hi. Good morning. Good afternoon, Tammy. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I am Rachel Dalinka. Today, I am fortunate to be speaking with Tammy Harris, and you are listening to Opening Doors podcast, and where every story is a journey to healing. So, Tammy has a pretty intense story to tell. Uh, Tammy and I met at an event back in October of 23. It was a Halloween event. And we were both out in, where was it, 8th and Diamond in
Thank you.
Philadelphia.
Yes,
And it was a way for kids to be able to trick or treat safely.
absolutely.
Yeah, it was a great event. So we got to chatting, she and I said, "Oh my goodness, you need to be on my podcast." And she said, "Wonderful." She has a nonprofit called the Jahmil Harris Foundation, and I may have left out a name. So tell me exactly what your foundation is called. Did I get it right?
Got it right. It's the Jahmil Harris Foundation. Yes.
So can you tell our listeners a little bit about why you started the Jahmil Harris Foundation and what led up to that?
Okay. Ironically, I I came up with this foundation actually in June of 2020. Um 3 months after the passing of Jamil, who we call Madi. Um, Great kid. Um, And I was sitting there thinking, and all of the grief and pain and hurt, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I have to do something. Um, I'm at home. A friend of mine came to visit that day, and you say 3 months, okay, you should be okay right now. And I thought I was, but I actually wasn't. Um,
And this is 3 months after your son was killed.
3 months after he was killed, we had the janazah because we're in the Islamic faith. We grew up Christian, and both of my sons, I have another son named Jahmil Harris, and we had to put together a janazah. I'm coming from a Christian background. I didn't know what I needed to do, but I know Jamil wanted a janazah when he passed, and
And a
we
janaza is
it's
a death
it's, it's
ceremony connected to Islam.
yes, and it's celebrating life. The same as a funeral or a homegoing service, as you would say. And so I'm sitting there. We and I'm sorry to go back and forth, but I'm trying to get the time frame together. A friend of mine came to visit to bring me something to eat, and I'm just sitting there. I opened the door. I was startled by the knock, and they gave me the food. I didn't want any company. I was living on the campus of Girard College then,
Okay.
where I worked at, which I was employed for 15 years. And they gave me the food, they left. I get a knock on the door and I got startled again. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? They was like, I've never seen you like this. I need for you to get it together.
Who said that? The same friend
My friend.
who's
And
back.
yeah, came back to knock on the door to tell me this isn't good. And I'm thinking everything was okay. So when they left, I just sat there and like just thinking like what's wrong with me? I get up to look in the mirror. The phone rings. It's from my son who's incarcerated at the time. And when he calls, throughout this time, everything is okay. It's always okay. Mom is going to make it okay, even if she's not, because I know what my burden, I didn't want to put that on him while he's inside. And
Right. And he can't do anything to
so,
help. Yeah.
and so he called and he's like, "Hey, mom, how are you? How you feeling? I called to check on you." And I was like, "Great," but I'm teary-eyed. Um, and I held it in, and I'm like, "Hey, I gotta fix this." And he was like, "All right, I don't have a lot of time. I just called to check on you." And so hanging up the phone and thinking like, I still have a son that's alive. I still have life in me. And I got up, mind you, I showered. I haven't eaten, right, in about 3, 4 weeks.
Oh my. Yeah.
I cleaned up the apartment. Um, After showering, I got dressed. I said, I'm going out to get some air. I went to the market to get food. I haven't eaten, remember? And I came back, I felt great. It was like a breath of fresh air. And so I'm sitting there and saying, "Hey, like, what can I do?" Um, I said, "I'm gonna start a foundation." And that was it that day. And that was the start of the Jahmil Harris Foundation. Um, Thinking of it, going through what I was going through, wanting to help others, and remembering him as a person. And my son has some of my traits. And so when you say I'm not all bad, there's some good in me, and that's who he was. His smile, his helpfulness, will give you the world. And so that's what I want to spread in the foundation. And I decided to start it. And so our first event, I'm like, what can I do to give back? And when you say nonprofit, there's no money involved. You got to go by the books, and I got my EIN number. I got everything in place. And so called my friend up and said, "Hey, I need you to do a website." I had no money, right? And
Right.
so I said, "But I'm going to pay for this website." And so I started to think of things that I can do. And our first event was the homeless feed. We fed over, I guess, like 300 homeless people on 16th and JFK downtown. We were excited. We had the banners, we had balloons. This is the first event. So it's like, hey, this is how I wanted to make sure that everybody knew who Jahmil Harris was and what our family stood for and who we were. And so branching out in the communities and building relationships and helping. And when Jahmil was alive, he could call me and say, "Hey, mom, um, so and so needs a job. Can you do his resume?" I would do the resume in 10 seconds, right? Hey, Marty, so and so can get his resume. It's already done. Where's his interview at? Um, and those are some of the things that I've done, even saying, "Hey, talking to the manager at McDonald's," just smaller companies like that. So kids in the community know what it is to get a job. And "Hey, I have 3 kids that need employment. Do you guys have any openings?" And they'll say, "Hey, we have a night shift or we had a day shift." Well, that doesn't work for them because they're in school. How many school hours can you give them during the week? And I've done that. Even the summer youth employment, even the career exploration program,
That's
and
amazing.
just building up relationships. So if you can pick up the phone and make a call because someone needs help. And so I've always done that. And so starting a foundation wasn't new for me. It was just a ladder to get where I need to be
It was
on the.
almost it was almost like you were formalizing it. Like what you always did and who you always were was being formalized in the memory of your son, which
Yes.
which is really a lot about what I'm trying to learn and help people learn about is you went through a very traumatic experience. And if you don't feel like you can talk about the details of it, that's fine. But if you want to tell listeners what happened to Jahmil, that's okay too. Um, but what you took from that and your grief, you said, how can I help other people? how can I make this his life continue through my work? And that I just think is um amazing. I have not lost a child, but I can only imagine that it is the hardest thing. I have
Um,
so much respect for what the way you've chosen to live after his passing.
I think the foundation and I would share. Jahmil has a daughter, and her name is Madi after Madi's nickname. So she has his name. She's 3 years old, and losing a son is undescribable pain. And I filter that into the foundation and to my family. For me, family is major. I've always made sure that I was a parent first, in spite of what that looks like. And so if we say, our kids, they get 18 and they go away, no, it doesn't work like that. Um, you continue to build them, to build yourself, and to build your family. And I'm a proud grandmother right now. I have a 3-year-old, Maddie Harris, and Josiah Harris, who will be 1 come February. And so that's from my oldest son. And so now I'm most proud to be a grandmother. And so
Lucky.
yes, and so that's new for me, right? And so when you think about just the joy that it brings you, and just um you know, Marty's not here no more, but he left me his daughter. And so he was ready to be a great dad as well, at his age. And so I had my first at 19, and he would have been 23 when he had his first child. And so I'm grateful. Um, I'm grateful. My family is she's getting a lot of love, but when you think about violence and you think about incarceration, it hurts on both sides. And
Oh
so,
yeah. Yeah.
uh, being someone who lost a son to gun violence, and I can't imagine how the other family feels, but in spite of the situation, I was home sleep when I got the call, and that's a call you never think that you would get. And I had just left out of, Jahmil had just left out of the house. I heard gunshots because Jahmil left out. And he's like, "I'll talk to you later, Mom. I love you." And that was the last thing that he said to me. And I was like, "I love you too." That was normal for us. We had that kind of relationship. I would talk to him 5, 6, 10 times a day. It's like, "Hey, Mom, I'm checking on you," or say, "Hey, where are you? Are you at what's going on? How are things?" It was that kind of thing. That was my best friend. I wouldn't trade it for the world. When people say it's a son and father relationship, it was a mom and son. And I know my son loved me with all his heart, and we had a great relationship. I wouldn't trade it for the world. And so I fell asleep. No, I called him, and I'm like, "Hey, where are you?" I heard gunshots in the back of Gerard, probably 26th Street right there. And he's like, "Mom, I'm nowhere near Gerard. I left there while I'm hanging out, with my friends. I'm not there." And I'm like, "Okay." And then I go to sleep. And so this particular night, I didn't hear the phone. And I never get up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. And it's like 2 in the morning, and I have all these missed calls, right? And my heart starts to race, and I'm like, "Why are they calling me?" And then I said something bad's done happened. And then as I'm looking at the calls and I'm seeing, like, trying to figure out what's going on, they was like, one of my friends, I call my sister, she's like, "Get to the hospital. Marty just got shot." And so from Girard College to Pennsylvania Hospital, Powelton, it's Presbyterian, I'm sorry, but it's part of Pennsylvania. That was the longest ride ever. It was the slowest ride. It was the longest ride.
I didn't think I would. It seemed like for hours, like it took me to get there. That's all I could remember, like driving, but I wouldn't go fast. I couldn't get there fast enough. And I get there, it looks like it's a party going on. It's all these people there. And I'm like, wow, what is going on? So I'm looking around and I get out the car and I walk across the street and it was like a movie. Um, I'm just looking. I was speechless. I was numb. And they said, you can go inside. Your son is in the back. We're operating on him now. And I just sat there, just I was speechless. I couldn't say anything. And from that, we were there for about 3 days. And I went, he got out of surgery and they moved him to the room. But I knew he wouldn't make it. Um,
Were you able to communicate with him at all before he passed?
he was he was he was there, but he wasn't. Um, I actually, so I have pictures with me kissing him, hugging him, just wanting him to talk. And my other son called home, and we he had to hear the voice. Like he heard his voice. We had prayer with him. We laughed. We talked about things. I don't know how my other son was able to stay on the phone for hours at that time.
They
Um,
gave him that. They gave him
they
that,
gave him
thank
that.
God.
I said, I want to leave. I want to go to see where he was shot at. His clothes were there on the side. And so they let the family come up. They let people, and in our community, everybody is family. And so, you got these, you have kids. I have a huge family on both sides. And so the community was there, all his friends, and it was just everybody. And but everybody couldn't see him because COVID had started, remember?
Oh,
And they were really tracking, wanting people not to be. And so it was just the beginning
thank,
of,
thank God it was the beginning of COVID and you were able to be with him. I mean, for a small, like,
yeah.
it's a small thing, but like, had it been a couple months later?
Oh, well, it was almost because, in the Islamic religion, you bury within 3 days.
Yeah,
So,
same in the Jewish religion.
yeah. And so, um, I had to cancel the event, the janazah. But then they said we can have it outside. And so it was outside, inside the cemetery. And March wasn't that cold, but we were able to have the janaza there and so much support. Like I said, I have a huge family, and without them, I don't know how I would have made it. Like without all the support, without them just doing everything. I it was like it was a big um like it wasn't real, you know? And even after everything and everybody went home, I stayed I stayed in my at my aunt's house Airbnb for like 30 days, right? Um, people were still coming over and praying and just supporting me. And I wouldn't take that back for the world. But then I said I had to go home to face it. And when I went home in June, this was June, I don't think I came out for like 3 to 4 weeks. And that's when I knew it was like, when they say mental health um is real, um, I'm not sure if I had a breakdown, but I wasn't myself. And I'm like, I gotta snap out of this. And so I said, I got to remember all the good things. And those good things was his smile, like I said, and us talking every day. And I had to turn this into something good. And that's what it was. And so planning the events for the foundation, it's just like, hey, like she's okay. Like she's doing this. Didn't she just lose her son a couple months ago?
But
Is that
that was what allowed you to move to go on to do that in his name.
absolutely. And during that time, my son called home and said, Mom, are you ready to take your shahada? And I said, I'm not Muslim. And he's like, Mom, are you ready to take your Shahada?
What, will you just explain what Shahada means?
So that means coming into the Islamic religion,
Okay,
like being baptized.
got
And
it.
so, I'm like, I'm not sure about that. Um, I don't know. He's like, Mom, you already live like a Muslim. He said, You're Christian." He said, "You carry yourself in a great way." He said, you're a leader in your family." He's like, it's the same thing." And I'm like, well, let me do some research on this, you know. My family's not going to be pleased with this. And so he's like, "Mom, you can't worry about what people say." He said, "Me and Marty's Muslim. I would like you to be in a I would like you to come to the religion." He said, "And I'm going to give you your Shahada." And so he called one day. I said, "Jahmil, I'm ready." And he gave me my Shahada over the phone. Um, and then he had all of these books sent to me. And he called us like, "Hey, did you get the books?" And, the Quran and, all of this stuff. Like, I'm like, wow, the prayer rug, like everything. And so my son gave me my Shahada. I studied the religion for a while, learning how to pray and is making dua, and just learning the culture, just learning the system, learning the difference in the Bible and the Quran. And
Hmm?
um, my family they thought I was losing my mind.
You're like, uh-oh, look what happened. She lost her son and now she's gone.
So you know how that is, but it got me through what I was dealing with, and being able to pray daily. That's the same thing I did when I was Christian. Um, and I just remember being a Christian, we would go to church every Sunday. My kids went to church on Sundays until they became Catholic and then was Islamic. Um, we knew how to pray, and just being whole with yourself, um, worshiping someone where you're grounded and you have values and morals. And so that's what family is, being
Absolutely.
able to communicate and um in a structured environment in spite of what happens. You can bounce back from that. Praying to get you through the week. In the Islamic religion, we pray 5 times a day, and so that was my answer for them. Pray and talk to God about it, even when I wasn't in the Islamic religion. And so those are the values that my mom instilled in me. And I lost my mom at going on 18.
Oh,
And
wow. That's hard.
I remember every value and moral she instilled in us. And my mom had eight siblings. And I say I have a family on.
You have a big family.
Yeah. One of my aunts had 12 kids, and that was my mom's like best friend. And so when I tell you they helped me through the process of Jahmil and this whole um just getting situated.
Your family's like its own little city
Yes.
or its own little neighborhood.
Yes. And so and even Jamil Mahdi's dad, they're my family as well. Because
That's
it's things
good.
that I couldn't do without them. And so putting those together makes me who I am. And so
Yeah. I just want to say one interesting thing. You are the third person that I've been able to talk to on this podcast. And so far, everyone has said that the thing that really got them through their trauma was their relationship with a higher power, with God, whoever their God was. And for me too, finding a higher power and being able to bring that into my heart and life and as a grounding force helped me so much to get through my trauma. So it's fascinating for me as I hear more stories and learn more that is a theme. That is a string that goes through all of it.
me and Jamil joked around a lot. I was like, I'm giving you a funeral and that's it. If something happens to you, he was like, you better not. Like, and that was we laughed about it because I was Christian then. And so when this happened, I pulled my family outside the hospital and I was like, Marty's Muslim, so we have to give him his wishes. And they was like, okay, we're with you. The little bit of time I had my mom, she just was that person. She was a foster mom. She invited people in her home. So I think that caring spirit comes from her.
Yep.
DHS kids, we had kids living with us, and not only my mom, but my two aunts, they also was emergency foster parents where they would support the DHS foster care system as well. And so when when I got into social service, it's like, it's no money in social service, right?
Yeah.
I do it for the money. And so mm,
Thank goodness there are people that
yeah,
don't do that care enough and don't do it for the money, right? Otherwise, ah, my mom, same thing. My mom was a social worker, and
okay.
she did not make money, but she helped a ton of people.
Yes, yes.
My partner, my boyfriend, Mike, is a big believer, and he really loves Desmond Tutu and
Okay.
Ubuntu philosophy that basically is we are because we belong. And so the whole idea of we belong to each other and we belong to ourselves, but we belong to this community, and the community helps each other, needs to help each other.
My mom was always saying, go across the street and go to the store for the elder, Miss Smith or Mr. Harry. And those are some of the folks that was elderly and couldn't come out the house as much, and you had to support them. And so if things were like that in these neighborhoods again, I think they would be better, um, and safer and just a lot different.
What are some of the things that you've tried to do um, to sort of mitigate the issues around gun violence? I mean, it sounds like obviously helping kids get jobs, that's a big piece.
So Jahmil had the opportunity to travel, playing AAU basketball, and playing in different department of recreation leagues and summer leagues. And I had a schedule. It was basketball, it was karate, he engaged in all of the soccer, football. He started flag football at Prospect Park when we lived in there. He went to Epiphany of Our Lord's, St. Thomas Aquinas, Roman Catholic, West Catholic. And so so at that time, I'm thinking about what ways can I give back to those places that he took part in. And so we donated, and $500 is a lot when you don't have anything, right? So
All
we
right. Yep.
we did a campaign, and we gave to those schools, Rome and West, Epiphany of Our Lords, because those are the schools Jahmil played basketball. Those are the kids that he interact with, and a scholarship in his name to those kids that exemplified Jahmil. And
That's
so
beautiful.
traveling and coming up with things to do for the foundation is like, okay, I got a moment. Let me write this down. So we did that. So we went to talk about Jahmil and the Jahmil Harris Foundation, and we had his daughter to go with us as well to say, hey, this is Jahmil's daughter. He's no longer here. And that was really great. So when we went to Roman Catholic, we talked to the father there, and they knew Jahmil for 2 years, and then he went to West for the other two. And West Catholic was different. It was like the prime of his basketball career because Jahmil got shot in eighth grade walking home to his grandmother's house in South Philly. So eighth
Wow.
grade graduation, we had to push him down the aisle. And so just walking home from basketball practice. And so that was something the doctor said he would never walk again. but again, being consistent, aqua therapy, going to see the therapist. Because remember, the doctor said
That's
he would
amazing
absolutely.
that he went from not being able to walk again to playing for West Catholic
West Catholic and some of Roman.
and Roman.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I tell that story because I remember him being in the 8th grade and tears rolling down his eyes when the doctor said he'll never be able to walk again.
Mm.
And I was like, they don't hold all the cards. It's in you. And he made it back. And so I was really proud of him, but it was me staying on him. Hey, we got therapy today after school. We got to go to CHOP today. And so that was hard for him
That's a
because
good mama.
he wasn't thinking, long term. He just heard the doctor say he would never be able to walk again. And I'm like, you can do this, kid. Like you can do this. And so playing with a bullet in his ankle,
He did it anyway. Wow. So
yeah.
the bullet was lodged in there. It couldn't be removed. Wow.
And so
Wow.
that was the first experience. And then so those are some of the things that we've done with the foundation. 12th and Race is another organization that we go to because it's young men there who's homeless. They have it's called Good Shepherd.
Good
Um,
shepherd.
yeah,
Mhm.
Good Shepherd. And so every year for the last 3 years, we've done our Thanksgiving feed there, where my family cooks the real meals, right? And we take it there and we set up and we talk about the foundation. And we this year we focused on mental health, and so we had a lot of mental health stuff to give along with the food and
Which is really important,
yes, because
especially in the Black community where there's it's stigmatized a lot, mental health. It's really important for people to feel like I can say I'm sad. I can say I'm depressed. I can say I need some help
Mhm,
and not feel ashamed. In
absolutely,
all communities, for sure.
yes. And we we've did that. And I also work in mobile crisis in the evening to go around um assessing families. So we'll get a call from the OMH, the Office of Mental Health, and these calls go through North Philly, West Philly, Southwest. People call 988 if they're in crisis, and they come out. And so I'm one of the teams that go out. And
That's
so I
amazing.
from
So
five,
so if you're having a crisis in the Philadelphia area, a mental health crisis, you can call 988 and
absolutely.
they'll send somebody out to help you.
You'll give them what's going on. When we get the call, because it's in a system called VOCHI, we'll read the call. We'll have everything that we need as far as address, who's the caller, what's the crisis, and we go out and to assess. So if that person needs to be 302'd or 201, sometimes it's just that they need to talk. Sometimes they want to go and get help and they're really depressed and say, hey, I can't take it no more. I'm sitting here, I need to talk to somebody like right now. And so going to the crisis response center in the area, which is Hub Cedar, Pennsylvania, it's Einstein, Friends, any of those places, depending on where you are, we will take you to get that extra help.
To get the help that you might need. That's huge. That's a really important service.
Yeah.
It really is an important service.
And that's why I
Tammy
do.
Harris, you're an angel. You're an angel on earth.
I just try to give back and support people because you never know. Just because a person looks one way on the outside, you never know what they're experiencing on the inside. And so just
That's
being
for
there,
damn sure. Yeah.
because I had it from I've had the support and going through to the shelters and the group homes, and something as simple as every year we take the kids to the car show. That's coming up. And so those are some of the activities that our kids don't get a chance to take part in, that the foundation wants to be a part of that. And so we usually pick a school, pick a class, and it's a mixture of gentlemen and young ladies to have them experience that because they've never been to a car show, or they never been
Right.
to the art museum, or they never been to a college tour. And so those are some of the things that
Let them know what else is out there, that the world is bigger than the couple blocks that they're on, or the 3 blocks, or the people that they know, that, wait, there are other options out there.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's huge. That's beautiful work. Thank you so much for all you do.
No problem.
And thank you for coming on and telling your story and opening up. These are real issues that need to be addressed and need to be shared in a way that is not, personal, that in a way that's personalized. People can hear, you
Mhm.
hear awful things on the news, and it's important to realize that those awful things are happening to real people like you and me.
Yes,
And we can be part of the solution, or we can be part of the problem.
absolutely. And most likely we want to be part of the solution.
Absolutely. That's why we're here, right, Tammy? That's what we want to do. We want to be part of the solution.
Want to be part of the solution, whatever it takes. And so, and a lot of things don't take a lot of money because running a program, or, helping someone out who's in need or can't get to school because the parents don't have any money, or they low income, or mom may have lost their job. And those are some of the things that we like to take part in. And it's just picking up the phone and calling someone, hey, I need a favor. Can you help out with this? Hey, I need this. And so I'm always coming up with different ideas. And
Well, we are going to make sure that all of the information about how people can get in touch with you and become a helper or a volunteer with the Jahmil Harris Foundation is part of this.
the website for the foundation is www.JahmilHarris, that's JAHMIL, Harris, HARRIS, Foundation, FOUNDATION, and it's .com.
And don't worry, because there'll be a link that people can click once this is all done.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.